This is your morning Buzzcast for Monday, August 4th. I'm Abe Madkour. What a big story in the WNBA. This is really worth watching because a group led by Celtics minority owner Steve Pagliuca reached a deal with the Mohegan Tribe to move the WNBA's Connecticut Sun to TD Garden in Boston. Sources said that Pagliuca's group will pay a record $325 million for the team, then contribute $100 million for a new practice facility in Boston for the Sun to relocate from Connecticut. So almost a $500 million investment just to start. For a WNBA team, it's amazing. The valuation is almost unbelievable. Remember, Cleveland, Detroit, Philadelphia, all expansion teams, they paid a reported $250 million to join the league over the next few years. So why else is this so interesting? Well, let's just say the W's league office wasn't so thrilled about a team possibly moving to Boston. It wants to keep Boston as an expansion target, and it has other markets ready for relocation. The W's league office, who surely knew about this transaction, gave a pretty terse statement that the 9 cities who lost out on recent expansion bids currently have priority over Boston, and almost inferred that the Mohegan Tribe that owns the Sun could be forced to sell to one of those cities instead. Now, sources have told my colleague SBJ's Tom Friend that the Sun has almost refused to have discussions with other cities and really focused on Boston, and that didn't sit well with the league office. And some believe that the league office will try to dictate where the Sun relocate to, and that Houston is likely the WNBA's preferred destination for the Sun. Pagliuca issued a statement on Sunday night saying this move now is in the hands of the WNBA's league office. But this is a pretty interesting dilemma for the W. Most would agree Boston could be a great market for women's basketball. Obviously, the WNBA wants to keep it for a possible expansion market. Let's move on from the W. I was really hoping this weekend would be just a great home run for baseball in Bristol Motor Speedway, but certainly the weather did not cooperate Saturday night. A bit of a downer for the Speedway Classic in Bristol, Tennessee at the Motor Speedway. It looked great, but the full event Saturday night wasn't the event we all wanted and expected. On Sunday, yes, it looked good on TV, but while baseball announced a record of more than 91,000 tickets distributed, they certainly didn't have that many people in the stands on Sunday. Regardless, a great and ambitious effort by both Major League Baseball and Bristol Motor Speedway. What I did find interesting is on Friday when MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred commented for the first time on his recent players' meeting with the Phillies and his reported clash with Bryce Harper. Manfred said more has been made out of the meeting than needs to be made out of it. He said at the end of the meeting, he and Harper shook hands and moved on. Manfred said he is, of course, optimistic that baseball and the players will find a way to make a deal on a new collective bargaining agreement. He also stressed his legacy, saying as from the time he joined baseball in 1998, the league has not had a work stoppage, and he believes that's a good record that shows his ability to be a deal maker and reach a new CBA. Let's move on to some facility news. Another step forward for the Commanders as the D.C. Council gave initial approval on Friday to a deal for a 65,000-seat stadium, which is the centerpiece of nearly a $4 billion multi-use development project on and around the old RFK Stadium site in Washington, D.C. This deal is one of the largest deals in the city of D.C.'s history. Now, a second and final vote on the proposal is scheduled for September 17th, and this deal, as it's moving forward now, means the Commanders could could move into the new stadium in time for the 2030 season. Now, this deal is a massive financial investment from the District of Columbia. It involves more than $1 billion in public funds and more than $1 billion in tax breaks for the team. This is a big, big deal. But right now, it's being met with mostly approval. Again, the key second vote scheduled for September 17th. Future of the Commanders looking more and more likely to be in the District of Columbia. Speaking of venues, we've talked a lot about the cost of building venues continuing to increase, especially with tariffs that are in play right now. Here's another example. The A's 33,000-seat Las Vegas ballpark, it was initially targeted to cost $1.5 billion. It increased to $1.7 billion in December, and now A's owner John Fisher said it's likely to cost $2 billion. He said that the cost has increased as they've had more and more details come in about the ballpark, but he said he was okay with this increased cost and stressed that they are focused on investing in a design that is unique. And let's just say this ballpark's design is quite unique. Now, it's also been well known that A's owner John Fisher is seeking partners for the team. Last week, they brought on Aramark as a limited partner. Fisher is also working to sell his ownership in the MLS Earthquakes, but he said those proceeds will not go toward the construction of this new ballpark. Again, the A's ballpark targeting now to cost $2 billion, and even that could increase. Look for a big announcement from the NFL and ESPN this week as the two have reached a long-awaited deal that brings many of the NFL's top media holdings. That includes Red Zone, that includes the NFL Network, that includes 7 more regular season games, and other ancillary events and programming that will shift to ESPN in exchange for equity in the company. So again, ESPN will now get Red Zone, the network, regular season games, the NFL's fantasy football business, and potentially more assets. And sources confirm the NFL may receive up to 10% equity in ESPN, which is certainly worth billions of dollars. So again, you're seeing the ever-growing relationship between leagues and media companies. Remember, we saw it last week with Fox buying a stake in IndyCar. What else is critical to this deal? Well, the NFL isn't bullish on its media business. It has scaled back talent at NFL Network. It's scaled back the programming at NFL Network. And on the flip side, ESPN needs to boost the programming around its new direct-to-consumer service, and they will get that with these games and with the Red Zone and the fantasy football business. This is a lot of very valuable programming that ESPN will receive. Now, this deal does require regulatory approval. That could take 9 months to a year. The deal could be announced as early as this Wednesday when Disney has its earnings call. And finally, we'll end with this, my favorite deal of the past week that addresses a couple of issues. One, it addresses premium options for younger fans, and two, it addresses the speed and the ease of getting out of a building. So the deal is the Miami Dolphins launching a new premium experience for young adults. It's a bar-style club in the upper deck at Hard Rock Stadium, and it includes post-game transportation to all the hot spots in South Beach. This is a fun deal. These new clubs will be situated in the corner of the end zone. They will target 20-year-olds with an open seating plan, heavily focused on socializing. And then after the game, yes, the transportation is the most notable feature. These social club tickets start at about $120, so fans will mingle during the game, and then after the game, you got it, transportation, bus transportation to the party hotspots to keep the party going in Miami and Fort Lauderdale. I like this offering. I think it's a fun new target for young fans, and I do love the idea of the post-game transportation because we all know how difficult it can be to leave a football complex after a game. And so that is your Morning Buzzcast for Monday, August 4th. I'm Abe Madkour. Thanks for listening. Stay healthy. Be good to each other. I'll speak to you tomorrow.